On April 6th of 2026, mankind made its greatest achievement by orbiting around the moon intentionally. But more importantly, on that same day, a very important test of patience began in the city of Baltimore. Welcome to the Maryland MTA Baltimore Metro BaltimoreLink. Alrighty, everybody. Off here at West Baltimore. I would not do like a video reviewing this station because this is literally what you see is what you get. So I will literally just give you the score for that one as to what West Baltimore this station is. A new one's coming up soon, so there's that. Anyways, the two of us, we are going to go on a crazy filming adventure. Why not? So here we are. This is the pink line of the Baltimore Metro CityLink. And we're off on the CityLink Pink. And welcome to the BaltimoreLink bus system, aka the Maryland MTA Baltimore Metro BaltimoreLink system. You can thank former Governor Larry Hogan for why we are calling it that. So how did the system get to here? Well, let's go back into the late 1800s when the streetcars were at their infancies and there were a lot of private companies that were running these lines. It wasn't until the turn of the millennia when they all consolidated into the United Railways and Electric Company. Then the lines were handed over in 1935 to the Baltimore Transit Company. A few years later, in the late 40s, National City Lines, in their usual shenanigans, would slowly convert the streetcar line into trolley buses or regular buses, and eventually it all became buses. And in the midst of that, there were private companies that were running these bus services. In 1970, the Baltimore Metropolitan Transit Authority took over and merged private companies. This agency would later change into the Maryland Mass Transit Administration, and finally, the Maryland Transit Administration, aka the MTA. That's not it. No, not that one. Good logo, but no. Nope. There we go. Now, why did everything become Link? In 2017, the BaltimoreLink rebrand and reshuffle was meant to freshen up almost everything under the MTA umbrella and have the word Link attached to it. So the Metro Subway is now a Metro Subway Link. The light rail is now a light rail link. Their paratransit is now the mobility link. Only MARC and commuter buses were somehow spared. And for the buses, which got the most of the rebrand, you have the LocalLink, the CityLink, the QuickLink, and the Express Bus Link. And I'll give a brief mention to the Charm City Circulator, but keep in mind that is not a part of the Maryland MTA. But these buses provide a critical key to keep Baltimore moving. We'll go into more on how it works, but first, we're pretty close to reaching to the end of our first trip. Alright, so that was like the pink line. Now we're going to make our way down to John Hopkins. That's going to be a completely different video. Because again, I like to split up what type of systems they were running. So we'll catch you up when we leave, I believe in Monument. After a dash through the Mondawmin bus bays, we are on the LocalLink 29, which goes down a twisty line. So let's break down all the bus links. The LocalLink service is your standard service. These routes will deviate a lot in order to provide services to almost every nook and cranny in the region. All LocalLink numbers will go from 20 to 95 with the exception of the 40. For the 40, it goes underneath the QuickLink branding. This route provides connection from the Center for Medical and Medicaid Services to downtown to the Essex community with as little stops as possible. We'll come back to this in a bit. Now we look at the CityLinks. These cover more key areas in Baltimore with little deviations and higher frequencies. This is very much comparable to that of Ride-On Extra. A majority of these routes will run through downtown Baltimore similar to that of an S-Bahn Metro, and each route is classified by 12 colors, which I'm not a fan of, especially with some of the colors being so close to each other. Finally, we have the Express Bus Link, which has the goofiest name of them all. Express Link would be such a better name. Anyways, these buses provide limited stop services from downtown to the outer limits of the city. This makes it a lot quicker than the CityLinks, but a lot shorter as well. All Express Bus Link numbers are in the 100s. So going back to the QuickLink 40, should this be considered a CityLink, right? Well, on Apple Maps, it's considered a commuter bus apparently, which is not true. The CityLinks will cater for almost every stop, while the QuickLink stops are significantly limited. So if it's not a CityLink bus, does that mean that it's an Express Bus Link bus? Well, it runs a significantly longer route than all the other Express Bus Links. So that's how it's kind of its own thing. I've actually gotten a chance to ride the 40 earlier this year with Esther and our friend Max. We rode this to serve as a personal inspection, among other reasons, as this route coincidentally follows along the proposed Red Line route, which is a topic that I won't cover here because this project is constantly in limbo. And one thing that's also in limbo is our next bus. Dang, do these things go like crazy fast. Just floor it. So here we are. I just want to point that out that the sidewalk just randomly ends. We were trying to get to 78, but it ghosted us last minute. What did you say? And now we are on to plan B.
Speed camp, see?
It looked violated. And here we are on the CityLink Purple as our plan B. And probably a lot of you are wondering, how much are we paying for this? Well, if you're just using the bus links, metro subway links, and the light rail links, it's only $2 for each trip. But a day pass for $4.60 is your best bet. That is what the text-to-speech announcer on every metro subway link station and every light rail link station will say. And it is my favorite announcement of all time. But anyways, there are two methods on how you pay them. There used to be three, but a lot has changed last year, and in my personal opinion, it has changed for the worse. So what you see here is a Charm card, and right below it is the Smart Trip card from DC. And why am I showing these two? The reason why is very simple. You could use a Charm card on anything that can be tapped on a Smart Trip machine and vice versa. And you're probably wondering, oh hey, couldn't they just use one card and then just call it a day? They can. However, funny enough, in 2026, both WMATA and the Maryland MTA went two different directions. For the DC Metro, the Metro Bus, and parking garages, you now have the ability to use your credit cards to tap in, but you can still use your Smart Trip card. Meanwhile, in the Maryland MTA, they've made no such improvements. Rather, they decided to get rid of the Charm card, and the only way to pay your fares is either through cash or the Charm Pass app. That is literally it. It is literally one of probably the top 5 most dumbest decisions ever made. And we'll just leave it at that. So, we're now free. Let me make room for this car that's about to run over us. Yes. Apparently that was, she wanted us to leave there, which it was not the last stop, but I guess she wanted to take a longer break. Fine then. We're not going to complain that much. Me being the genius that I am, I did not put it in selfie mode, but my goodness. Did you smell something burning in that bus? Did you smell something burning in that bus? Alright then. Anyways, this shopping center is run-of-the-mill, giant Walmart, buses resting, a double T diner followed by a Toyota dealership, and I guess I see like a lot of Asian market, so I believe that's like kind of their version of Eden Market. It's insanely strody here. Here we go, finally on the LocalLink 77. It's a very straightforward route with just one noticeable deviation. We'll be taking the entirety of this bus to hop on to the next one. But what isn't straightforward is the fact that this bus was supposed to leave at 1:20 p.m. But no, we decided to leave at around 1:30ish p.m. and this is a fairly common thing in the city of Baltimore. Do not be surprised if you either see a delay or a bus that has to be dropped altogether. And don't worry, I got receipts. The pink, thankfully, was on time. But look at these dropped routes that I have took a screenshot of while editing this video. The 29 either left early or left insanely late, and if they are leaving early, that is definitely not a good look. Here's the CityLink Purple, which is almost 10 minutes late. Okay, that's fine. I'll give it a pass since you can't control traffic, I guess. Oh, and let's not forget about the 78. We were supposed to take that rather than the CityLink Purple. It was tracking, and then somehow, somewhere downtown, we lost the signal and then the route got dropped entirely. This is a constant. This isn't just like a one-time, oh, we ran into bad luck thing. No, no, no. We've also ran into some trouble in the aforementioned trip a few months ago. There were still more buses being dropped. Somehow we were lucky to reach our main connections, but it was so nerve-wracking and quite tedious. And while yes, it is definitely aggravating for us, keep in mind there are people who obviously live in a city and they have to deal with this. Now looking at the on-time performance report, it is hovering around the 75% range, so there is that. There is also plans to improve the bus system called the Be More bus plan, and if everything goes smoothly and everything gets passed, it would be one of the most significant changes since the BaltimoreLink rebrand in 2017. But it really does depend on how the state lawmakers approve of this, because funding the Maryland Transit Administration is not even a cakewalk, because it's a perfect storm of NIMBYism, car dependency, conservatism, and also most of the transit funding actually goes to the Washington DC area for various obvious reasons. So low-key, even though I live in Northern Virginia, I do feel a sense of guilt knowing that a lot of the funding are mostly going towards Washington DC. So sorry GRTC, we can't make you peak. Maybe one day people will come into an agreement and realize that funding the transit of Baltimore should be elevated so that way the people can have that freedom of movement with an even more reliable system. But for now, we are here and we can only do what we can do. And that's hoping that we don't miss the 26th to Cherry Hill. If timed well, hopefully we can get in a boat ride, right? 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 Well, we are on the 26th, but once again, we are significantly late, and ultimately in Inaudible, there will be no boat content or ferry content in Baltimore for the time being. But we will instead head down to the Cherry Hill light rail station so we can meet with the Charm City Circulator. So one thing I definitely have not covered yet is the fleet of the BaltimoreLink. It is mostly new flyer dominated. However, to somewhat even it out, there are Nova buses as well. Although recently Nova Bus has scaled back to Canada, so this ultimately means that in this world, we're mostly just going to be new flyer or Gillig dominant. And speaking of Gilligs, as of this recording, you will see a couple of Gillig low floors in revenue service, which actually makes Maryland MTA one of the very fewest organizations to have new flyers, Nova buses, and Gilligs at the same time. Also, there are 5 buses that I know that are currently preserved. Technically and officially, there are 4. There are 2 flexible buses and 2 Navy buses. One of them is used as a Christmas bus. I've never seen those personally, but what I have seen is this bus right here. This bus is dedicated to Rosa Parks, and if you know your history well, you're probably wondering, wait, WMATA started in the 1970s, long after her powerful move in Montgomery, Alabama. In actuality, that bus comes from Baltimore, but was refurbished and redesigned to make it look like a DC Metro bus. Alrighty, so now we got off the 26th.
We're at Cherry Hill.
At Cherry Hill. Right there is the lot for the fault circulator. Yep. Some very interesting facts. They use, I believe, hand-me-down Nova buses, but also behind coming soon are a couple of Gilligs. They also use Orion, so their time's gonna be up, which to me is like a huge heartbreak and a heartbreak to a nation. And welcome to the Charm City Circulator. This will be just a very brief overview, as I can probably do a video about it in the future. But here's what you need to know to get up to speed. This is a separate agency, so sync DC with the Metro bus and the former DC Circulator, or Fairfax with the Fairfax Connector and Q. As I previously mentioned, there are 3 manufacturers that they are currently running. That is Orion, Novabus, and Gillig, which I think at this point of the release of this video, they should finally be in full service, and also the fares for this system is free. And they currently run 5 different routes. 4 of them are named via color, and there's a 5th one that is called the banner route, but it's colored in blue. Now, do you see the problem going on here, right? CityLink also goes by a coloring scheme as well. So with CityLink and their excessive amount of colored routes, it's now even more cursed with the Charm City Circulator's colored routes. So you have to be extremely specific if you're saying, hey, I'm going to take the green line. Because you could be saying the lime line, the green line for the CityLinks, or the green line for the Circulator. There's also 2 purple lines for CityLink and the Circulator, and 2 orange lines for the CityLink and Circulator as well. Honestly, it would make a much better sense if MDOT Maryland MTA would just replace the coloring scheme with just something that's a little bit more simplistic. And especially with the upcoming arrival of the red line. From what I've gathered, they are pulling a connecting Chesapeake where They're now giving people 3 options as to whether it's going to be a light rail or a bus rapid transit. Unfortunately, it looks like they're going to go into the direction of bus rapid transit. So with that being said, you're going to have a BRT red line and a CityLink red line? No, that's just way too confusing. And let's not forget that the light rail link and the subway link are expected to have colors as well. From what I gathered, and keep in mind this is not official, the light rail link could be blue and the subway link could be green. Oh yeah, we're gonna have 4 different iterations of the green line. What is this city? Now moving on, let's talk about the commuter bus system. Now growing up in Northern Virginia, I'm only used to the 2 commuter bus systems of Omni Ride and Loudoun County Transit. And you'll notice the complete distinction with the more fancier MCI coach buses. For Baltimore, it's a little bit different. There is a special section on the Charm Pass app where you can order a commuter bus ticket, and the fares are determined by zone, similar to that of MARC. So there is that noticeable distinction. But also, the buses that they run actually varies because the Maryland MTA outsources it through smaller coach bus companies. But because it is outsourced, that does require a lot more interaction with the bus driver, because chances of you getting a fare box on that coach bus is very, very low. And as I mentioned before, there are different bus companies that run different types of shuttles. So with that being said, you could get different generations of MCI buses, you could get Van Hools, Volvos, Mercedes, etc., etc. So it's definitely a good fun game of guessing which bus you're going to get and hoping that the quality of the bus is either a fair condition or a good condition, which, let's be honest, I don't think that there's going to be a bus that bad. I might have jinxed myself, haven't I? Of course I'm not recording that. That was a transit app. Alright. So now we are going to get the 95, an express bus, one of those rare ones.
Not an express.
Oh, just
Rush hour only.
Oh, so just a rush hour only type of bus. Alright then.
It was 2 blocks, runs like a couple blocks away from other routes that run more frequently, longer and stuff. So it doesn't really need to exist, and if it's going to exist, they can only bother back to during rush hour when people are service.
True. So here we are on the 95, and apparently there were 2 of them, so we had to play the guessing game. Thankfully we got this one, and I'm just leaving this last part just as the sights and sounds of the bus system. So enjoy.
Silver LocalLink 51, 65, 67.
Cancellations.
And then, no, 4 cancellations and 2 15-minute delays.
And how many on time?
Yeah.
How many on time? Like,
Not many.
only the trains ran on time. Not to get anybody any bad ideas. Thank you. Go with the station of Penn University shuttle. So finally, back here on the MARC train. I think we learned a lot, didn't we?
MTA Maryland sucks.
Yep.
In London County Transit sucks.
You'll hear that on a different video. And only the train seems to run well. Well,
Right.
exclusion of the subway.
Yeah, the subway still sucks. You didn't ride the light rail today.
No.
It normally sucks though.
Yeah.
It probably sucks today too, but admittedly we don't have hard evidence of that.
No, I mean, well, they still have the DC United scheme, so there's that.
This is normally okay, except for the times when it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Did we learn anything?
DC is better. What about, how about this? Ride On is better.
Probably. It's not like Ride On is this, amazing object, but
I mean, but
Man, this?
you got a bus like that runs like on like Washington Grove where there's like nobody there, but it still stops there like every 30 minutes on the weekends.
yeah. Because they don't run 24-hour service, and Baltimore does, but
At least they don't cancel their
we
trip.
need more money to go to MTA. Can you make that happen, please?
We beg of you, please, Mr. Westmore, because
Not cutting it. We need more. More
We need-
money. More now.
be more, money more. Thank you. Cool. With that, thank you so much for watching. May y'all have a great day. And I am going to be drinking this white monster that I have in my bag. Bye-bye.